Now, the second type are people who either had a bad life or have had some sort of trauma in their life. Some people, for whatever reason, do not manage to achieve a lifestyle they can be happy with. These people look at their lives and say something like, "There's got to be something better than this." Religion appeals to these people, since it promises an eternity of bliss in exchange for compliance to the belief system. Here is a woman who married the wrong guy. He doesn't provide very well, and for whatever reason, she can't leave him. Her life is a constant struggle just to keep basic necessities on hand, and her religion has taught her that her husband is the master of the household and can't be divorced. So she struggles through life with her family, but all the time wishing for something better. That idea of heaven starts to look pretty good to her, doesn't it? Especially since the church teaches that heaven is for the meek, and all the trials of this life are but a way to prepare you, forge you in the fire for the coming of the Lord in heaven. All this woman has to hope for in this life is the promise of a better one after this one is over, and all she has to do to get that is believe. Other people have had something happen to them. Maybe a severe health problem, death of a loved one, an addiction, maybe a brush with death. Maybe they have mental problems they have trouble coping with. Something so severe that they just can't handle it. Now, these people turn to God because their trauma scares them, and they can't find any way of dealing with it here. So they turn to God as a sort of big brother who will protect and help them. Religion for these people is nothing more than a cocoon they retreat into to help them through their crisis. I believe many, if not most, of the born-again types are like this. In other words, the worse people have it in this life, the more likely they are to turn to religion for the next life. The promise of a life of bliss that escapes them here and now. The facts would seem to agree with this theory, since economically depressed areas and those under oppression seem to have a higher rate of people who strongly believe in their religion. These people would not bother me at all if it not for the fact that they tend to be the most fanatical about their religion. They feel it is their duty to shove it in your face, and some can be pretty aggressive about it. They tend to think their perception of God and His laws is more important than man's laws, so they're justified in breaking the law in order to satisfy their God. They'll listen to no reason or arguments that upset this view. When God is on your side, you are never wrong. People like this are damaging to society at best and outright dangerous at worst. They can't wait to get to heaven and take as many of the unbelievers as they can right along with them. Now, the third group, I don't really think I have to spend a whole lot of time on. These are people who are in it for the money. Now, these people are not actually believers. They just see religion as a way of fleecing stupid, and I do mean stupid, people out of their money. Does anyone actually believe that if they give $700 to Pat Robertson, it will assure salvation? Oral Roberts essentially claimed God to be an extortionist, promising that God would call him home unless he raised $8 million. And people actually bought into this. He eventually collected over $9 million. I've seen some preaching that God wants you to give money and will reward you in kind. If you give $10, he will return 20, or some such nonsense. The more you give, the more you get in cash. Now, obviously, this would appeal only to the stupid, the ignorant, or the desperate. Well, that's about all I wanted to say here. I invite your comments. If your comment's just going to be a flame because you don't agree, save your breath and the bandwidth and go preach to the choir. I don't mind counter-arguments, but I don't tolerate self-serving stupidity very well. You take care of yourself.